next 8 minutes, we are going to talk about the Graduate Record Examination, or GRE. The GRE is used as an entrance examination by most of the graduate schools in the United States and even some other countries. The GRE will test your skills in two different areas: quantitative and verbal. During the test, you'll be presented with a set of multiple-choice questions, and you also have to write 2 essays. In this video, I'm going to give you some general hints to help you achieve a higher score in the test. We'll also work together to solve a few sample exercises for the quantitative section. So let's begin. The GRE is a CAT. CAT means Computer Adaptive Test. You get one question at a time, and you can return to it later. Every time you get the question right, the computer raises your score, then gives you a slightly harder question. Every time you get a question wrong, the computer lowers your score, then gives you a slightly easier question. Hard problems count more than easy ones. One of the most important things to know is that the early questions are vital for a good score on the CAT. This is so because the computer doesn't have information about you at the start of the test, and its goal is to get an accurate estimate of your score as quickly as possible. In order to do that, the computer has to make large jumps in the estimation of your score for each of the first few questions. So pay extra attention to the first few questions and do all that you can to get them right. Feel free to spend a little extra time double-checking the first 5 problems or so, and make sure you try every elimination technique you know before guessing on one of these problems if you don't know the answer. Get to the harder questions as soon as possible, because getting them right will help your score a lot, but getting a hard question wrong will only hurt your score slightly. During the test, try to avoid getting several questions in a row wrong, as this will sink your score on the CAT. If you know that the previous questions you answered was a blind guess, spend a little extra time trying to get the next question right. You'll be penalized for not giving an answer to every question in a section, so you must answer every question, whether you do any actual work on it or not. During the last 5 minutes of a section, the time display on the computer screen will start flashing, showing you the remaining time. Let this be your signal to start wrapping things up. Once you've worked carefully through the first third to half of the section, for the remainder of the test, it's important to avoid getting bogged down in time-consuming questions. If you encounter a question that seems extremely difficult or time-consuming, eliminate the answers that you know are wrong and make an educated guess. Before you go take the test, try to develop a pacing plan to see how much time you should spend in each question. You have 45 minutes to complete the quantitative section and 30 minutes to complete the verbal section. Split the time you have in 3 segments and assign fewer questions to the first segment to make sure you have enough time to work through them, and more questions to the last, unless you are aiming for a very high score. If you guessed blindly on a 5-choice GRE problem, you'd have a 1 in 5 chance of picking the correct answer. If you eliminate 1 incorrect choice, your chances improve to 1 in 4. Eliminate 3 and you have a 50-50 chance of earning points by guessing. It is easier to keep track of the incorrect choices if you mark them. You won't be able to do it in the computer screen, so use the scratch paper. Even though on the GRE the answer choices have empty bubbles next to them, pretend that they are labeled A, B, C, D, and E to make it easier. Now let's try some exercises for the quantitative section. You will find 3 types of questions: quantitative comparisons, problem solving, and data interpretation. In quantitative comparison, the questions consist of 2 quantities, one in column A and one in column B. You are to compare the 2 quantities and choose if the quantity in column A is greater, if the quantity in column B is greater, if the 2 quantities are equal, or if the relationship between them cannot be determined from the information given. Let's see one example. Here in column A we have x multiplied by x minus 1, and in column B we have x squared minus x. Take a moment to think. The best approach to solve this problem is to try to make the two columns look the same. If we multiply x by x minus 1, we have that x times x is x squared, and x times minus 1 is minus x. This means the two columns are equal. There are a few approaches that we can use when solving quantitative comparison problems. We can try to compare piece by piece. We can make one column look like the other, like we did in the previous example. We can try to do the same operations to both columns. We can pick numbers to compare values. And if we have diagrams, we can redraw them to fix the scale. Another type of question is problem solving. Let's see one example. Last year, John's annual salary was $20,000. This year's raise brings him to an annual salary of $25,000. If he gets the same percent raise every year, what will be his salary next year? This problem involves percentage. There are two formulas that you need to know when working with them. The first one is the percent equals part divided by whole. The second one is that percent multiplied by whole equals part. So let's see how to apply these formulas to this exercise. First, we'll calculate his raise by taking the salary he has now and subtracting the salary he had before. This gives us a 5,000 raise. Now we will use this to calculate the percent. Using the first formula, 5,000 divided by 20,000 equals 1/4 or 25%. Now let's apply this percentage using the second formula to his current salary. We get a raise of 6,250. And if we sum this raise with the salary, we get our final answer. The last type of question is data interpretation. You get one or more graphs, and you have to answer a few questions about its data. Here is our question. If the revenue of the company in 2008 was $3 billion, how many millions of dollars were revenues from frozen food operations? Here is the graph again, and we see that frozen foods corresponds to 20%. So, with another simple percentage calculation, we have our final answer of $600 million. That's it. I hope you have enjoyed this video.